Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, everyone. So we are going to continue with Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, Chapter 2, Text 10. We had left it half finished, so we'll start there. Before I start, are there any questions or comments from last week? No? Okay, all right. Then let me share the screen and we'll go with
I can read.
Okay, so we are okay. So this is the verse we were doing, right? Everybody agree?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
We
Yes.
completed
Okay.
first paragraph. Yeah.
We did the first paragraph, correct. I'm just going to read the verse one more time, just to bring everybody up to date, and then we'll start the second paragraph. प्रकाश विशेषित हूँ धरे तीन नाम ब्रह्म परमात्मा और स्वयं भगवान. In terms of its various manifestations, is known in three features called the impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the original personality of Godhead. Okay, so as somebody said, we already did the first paragraph. So we're going to start with the second paragraph. And, okay, so who wants to read the second paragraph?
I will do it, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
The potencies of the syllables bha, ga, and va apply in terms of many different meanings. Through his different potent agents, the Lord protects and sustains everything, but he himself personally protects and sustains only his devotees, just as a king personally sustains and protects his own children, while entrusting the protection and sustenance of the state to various administrative agents. The Lord is the leader of his devotees, as we learn from the Bhagavad Gita, which mentions that the personality of Godhead personally instructs his loving devotees how to make certain progress on the path of devotion, and thus surely approach the kingdom of God. The Lord is also the recipient of all the adoration offered by his devotees, for whom he is the objective and the goal. For his devotees, the Lord creates a favorable condition for developing a sense of transcendental love of Godhead. Sometimes he does this by taking away a devotee's material attachments by force and baffling all his material protective agents. For thus, the devotee must completely depend on the Lord's protection. In this way, the Lord proves himself the leader of his devotees.
Yeah, thank you. So the point is that actually there's a very nice verse in Shvetashvatar Upanishad that goes something like this. Na tasya karyam karanam cha vidyate, na tasya samo avi adhikasya dashyate, parasa shakti vividhava shruyate, swabhaviki jnana bal kriyacha. Which means that Krishna really doesn't have anything to do in the material world, because everything, and there's nobody equal to or greater than him, because everything gets done by his millions of potencies, and everything gets done just in a very natural way. So what that means is that Krishna's energies are acting as the agents to protect the devotees or destroy the demons. He doesn't have to do it himself. But the example is given that just like a king, he appoints different administrative and military leaders to take care of the citizens and the land and everything. But he personally, the king personally takes care of his own children and family. So similarly, Lord Krishna also personally takes care of his devotees. He has there's another verse in 929, I think. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu name desho asti napriya ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya maite teshu chapyam. He says, I'm equal to everyone. I don't love anybody. I don't hate anybody. I don't envy anybody. But those who are my devotees, I take special care of them. And that's the point. The Lord will personally take care of the devotees, whereas others, they get taken care of by Maya. So, for example, Lord Nrsimhadev personally came to protect Prahlad Maharaj. Lord Vishnu personally came to protect the Gajendra, the elephant. So on and so forth. So he personally gets involved, whereas in other people, non-devotees, his agency is Maya and all that. However, when Krishna says, I take care of my devotees, what we should know is that he takes care of them in his own way. Devotees don't decide how they want to get taken care of. Krishna decides how he's going to take care of devotee. And sometimes it is hard to understand why Krishna did what he did. So the example here is being given is that yasyaham anugranami. How does it go? I'm sorry, I can't remember the next line. Whomever I want to do special mercy, harshitadhanam shanai. Yasyaham anugranami harshitadhanam shanai. I take away their wealth. I take away their opulence. I take away everything they have. And as a result, they become so poor that all their relatives, all their so-called loved ones, leave them. And thus, having lost all the money, the devotee becomes so poor and forlorn and lonely that he automatically takes shelter of me. So that's Krishna's way of taking care of devotees sometimes. Sometimes, as he says in chapter 10, text 10, he says, Tesham satat yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yen mam pyate. So in this case, saying, no, I give them the intelligence by which they come to me. In the previous example, he's saying, I'm taking everything away from them. Whatever they had, I'm taking it away. They got nothing left. My point is, Krishna has his ways of supporting, maintaining, and helping the devotees, taking care of the devotees. We don't determine, he decides. But the point is that he's always taking care of the devotees as a good leader. As a good leader always does, he's doing the same thing. Any questions or comments?
It also says, my question is, it also says in the opposite way in the Bhagavad Gita when Lord Krishna says, Kishapram bharti dharmatma shashvatam shantam anigachati kauntya prati janhi name bhaktya parachati.
What
So
about
he says, I take care of for my devotees, whatever they are lack of, I provide them everything, and whatever they are lack of, I provide them that thing.
Okay, so is that a question or is that addition?
No, it's like it is contradictory to what you have said. Like on one side it says Krishna take away everything, and on the other side Krishna takes care. Krishna provides the devotee whatever they are lack of.
No, Prabhu, you misunderstood. What I said was that he does it in different ways.
Yeah, okay, that one I understand, Prabhuji.
So sometimes he's providing, sometimes he's taking it away, depending upon the situation.
Okay. That clears everything, Prabhuji.
That is why I was saying the devotee doesn't decide. Krishna decides how he's going to do this.
Okay.
But the idea in every situation is that Krishna will take care of you.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, Prabhuji. I understand.
No, it's okay. No problem. Okay. Anybody else?
Also, Prabhuji, is he talking about here? He's talking about his devotees means pure devotees, right? Only pure devotees.
That's right. Prabhupada, when he uses the term devotees, he usually means pure devotees.
Pure devotees. Okay.
That is correct. Okay. Anybody else? All right. Then who wants to read the next paragraph?
Can I read it, Prabhuji?
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. The Lord is not directly attached to the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world, for he is eternally busy in the enjoyment of transcendental bliss with paraphernalia composed of his eternal potencies. Yet, as the initiated of the marginal energy as well as the marginal potency, the living being, he expands himself as the Purusha Avatara, who are invested with potencies similar to his. The Purusha Avatars are also in the category of Bhagavad Tattva because each and every one of them is identical with the original form of the personality of Godhead. The living entities are his infinite mission, chemical particles and are qualitatively one with him. They are sent into this material world for material enjoyment to fulfill their desires to be independent individuals, but still they are subject to the supreme will of the Lord. The Lord deputes himself in the state of super soul to supervise the arrangements of such material enjoyment. The example of a temporary fair is quite appropriate in this connection. If the citizens of the state assemble in a fair to enjoy for a short period, the government deputes a special officer to supervise it. Such an officer is invested with all governmental powers and therefore he is identical with the government. When the fair is over, there is no need for such an officer and he returns home. The Paramatma is compared to such an officer.
Thank you, Prabhu. So this is a very important paragraph. Krishna, again, as I was saying before, Krishna doesn't get personally involved in doing anything in the material world. He stays aloof. But to start, he expands himself to 3 Purusha avatars. Who are the 3 Purusha avatars? Anybody knows?
Mahavishnu.
That's one.
Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so they are known as Purusha avatars. Pratham Purush, Tati Purush, Tati Purush. And they are the ones who start the process of the creation of material world. So as you know, Mahavishnu glances at the material nature, and as he exhales, all the universes come out of his pores, and then he enters as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu in each of the universes. From his navel comes out Brahma, and then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu expands to Kshirodakshaya Vishnu and enters every universe. And so then they take care of the creation and sustenance of the material world. Along with that glance, the living entities, Jivatmas, are transferred to the material nature, and then they take birth in a body suitable to their karmas, or according to their karmas, and then they enjoy, or they think they enjoy. However, whatever they may think, they're always under the superintendence of the Lord. And that superintendence is provided by Lord's expansion as in a Paramatma form. So this paragraph is talking about the Paramatma feature. So, Updrashta Anumantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, text 23. And so he is the sanctioner, and that's how he controls it. And he's witnessing, that's how you get punished or awarded for your activities later on. Anyway, the point is that he's still controlling things. Krishna is still controlling whatever we're doing. And a very nice example is given that if there's a fair going on, then the government employs some police officers to make sure things are in control. But once the fair is done, there's no need for those police officers in that place. So similarly, for those of us who are done with the material world, and we go back to the spiritual world in a spiritual body, there's no Paramatma. So Paramatma actually is a temporary expansion of the Lord, which is existing only in the material world. There's no Paramatma in the spiritual world. There's no need for it. Okay? So, and that's the point being made here. So Paramatma is compared to such an officer. Required when you're in the fair, not required when the fair is done. Any questions or comments on that?
Sure.
Prabhuji, if you may allow, then may I please?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead.
So Prabhuji, like we just said that Krishna doesn't really directly interfere in the material world, right? But many a times devotees do expect. So where's the fair line between complete surrenderance of Krishna and then balancing between the verse from the 7th or 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu, that you have to keep on remembering me while executing your duties.
Well, so for example, if he has to remind you to do that, you're clearly not a pure devotee. Right? So that's one thing. The second thing is all the non-pure devotees are dealing with the various energies of the Lord. Only the pure devotees are dealing directly with the Lord. So does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji. So even in the context of pure devotees, Tasmat Sarvesu Kaleshu does exist because their efforts are there in just devotion.
I'm sorry, say again?
They're also putting efforts, but their efforts are there how to serve Krishna purely.
Okay, all right.
No, I'm asking Prabhuji.
Okay, so can you rephrase your question?
So you said that it only applies to pure devotees. So
go ahead. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So in that case, but though despite their pure devotees who completely surrender on Krishna and Krishna facilitates everything, but even in that surrenderance, there is efforts to be surrendered to Krishna.
Okay.
Like for example, a person like me, if he goes into the tree just by chanting one round in the day and expects to go beneath the tree and sit and expect a cowherd boy to come with a pot of hot milk, that's not going to happen. So, but a devotee who has dedicated entire life in serving Krishna, for those devotees, this is possible.
Okay, but I got it. But I still don't understand what is your question. Can you just say in one line, what is your question?
So is this true? Like, is my understanding true?
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. That
okay.
Smart Scholarship applies to those of us who are not pure devotees. Because pure devotees already know that. They don't have to be told.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, that's true.
Right?
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Anybody else? Okay. Then let's read the next two paragraphs.
I can read it, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
The living beings are not all in all. They are undoubtedly parts of Supreme Lord and are qualitatively one with Him. Yet they are subject to His control. Thus, they are never equal to the Lord or one with Him. The Lord who associates with the living being is the Paramatma or the Supreme Living Being. No one, therefore, should view the tiny living beings and Supreme Living Being to be an equal level. The all-pervading truth that exists eternally during the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material world, and in which the living beings rest in trance, is called the impersonal Brahman.
Thank you. So, this is supporting the point I was making earlier, that in the material world, Krishna himself doesn't have anything to do. All the things are done by his energies and his features, his expansions. So Paramatma is his one of the features of absolute truth is Paramatma feature that stays with the living entity in the material world. And as we transmigrate, Paramatma stays with them. So the association with the living entity is Paramatma feature, not the Lord himself, as we were saying before. Okay. And also, as in the same verse we were saying, nobody can ever be equal to or greater than the Lord. So we are all tiny, infinitesimal parts of the Lord whose role is to simply serve him for his pleasure. And we can never expect to be one with him, which is what impersonalists say. That's not possible. And we can never be equal to or greater than him. Yeah, that's it. And the all-pervading truth that exists, the feature of the all-pervading truth that exists eternally during the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the world is the Brahman effulgence on which everything's resting. The spiritual world and the material world, they're both resting on the Brahman effulgence. Okay. Any questions or comments on that? No? Okay, we'll move to the next one. 211. Vadanti tat tavidas tattvam jat jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwan iti shabdite. Translation. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge and is called impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead. So basically, those who know, they're saying absolute truth is these three things. And they call these three things combined as the non-dual knowledge. We'll talk about that, what that means. Okay. Who wants to read the first paragraph?
I can read, Prabhu.
Please go ahead, Shalini Mataji.
This Sanskrit verse appears as the 11th verse of the first canto, second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Suta Goswami answers the questions of the sages headed by Shaunaka Rishi concerning the essence of all scriptural instructions. Tattva Vidha refers to persons who have knowledge of the absolute truth. They can certainly understand knowledge without duality because they are on the spiritual platform. The absolute truth is known sometimes as Brahman, sometimes as Paramatma, and sometimes as Bhagwan. Persons who are in knowledge of the truth know that one who tries to approach the absolute simply by mental speculation will ultimately realize the impersonal Brahman, and one who tries to approach the absolute through yoga practice will be able to realize Paramatma. But one who has complete knowledge and spiritual understanding realizes the spiritual form of Bhagwan, the personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. So here, the point is being made is that absolute truth has three features, which is the impersonal Brahman, Brahma Jyoti, the localized Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead, Bhagavan Swayam. And those who understand this point, understand what absolute truth is, they certainly understand that there's no duality in this. And I'll explain that in the next paragraph, what that means, non-duality. And then it's explaining that those who approach the absolute truth simply by mental speculation will at best ultimately realize the impersonal form of the Brahman-effulgence of the Lord. Those who perform yoga, and they will approach, so they'll realize the Paramatma feature. But one who has complete understanding will realize the Bhagavan feature. So the one who realizes the Bhagavan feature, which is a devotee, he understands the impersonal Brahman and Paramatma feature as well. So he understands all three, therefore his understanding is complete. Those who understand only impersonal Brahman or Paramatma, their understanding is incomplete. Not incorrect, but incomplete. Because they're missing something. Whereas the one who understands the absolute truth of a person, they understand the whole thing, the three features of a person as well. Okay, any questions on that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
I just had one question.
Go ahead.
Prabhu, I understood, yoga practice here means Ashtanga yoga, I suppose, Ashtanga yoga.
Correct.
What is this mental speculation? Is it?
Mental speculation is, I think the absolute truth is like this. Then they do all this analysis and all that. And then they say, no, it's not this, neti. Then somebody else starts. And they start doing all sorts of, from their own mind, they try and come up with theories and, philosophy and all that. And then they say, no, that can't be neti. So then they spend the whole life saying neti. And from their mind, they're trying to understand what is beyond the understanding of the mind. So therefore, they never get to the correct conclusion. And in the meantime, they start to understand that this world is a miserable place. And the only way you can be happy is that you do a self-control and you meditate on void or on light or something they can concoct. So the best they can get to is Brahman effulgence, if they achieve perfection. But that's what mental speculation is. You're not basing it on any scriptures. You're just making your own theories. The mental speculation is just thinking from your mind, but making it up on your own.
So, Prabhu, are these Jnana Yogis?
They are Gyanis, correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Prabhuji, I have one question.
Huh.
The Dhyan yogis, they also focus on light only, right?
You said Dhyan Yogi or Gyan Yogi?
Dhyan.
Dhyan, okay.
Like focus, they also focus on light only. So they will merge in the Brahman effulgence, right? Brahma Jyoti.
So Dhyan Yogi, unless they are... sorry, first of all, generally speaking, Dhyan Yogis will focus on the Paramatma feature, generally speaking. There may be Dhyan Yogis who focus on light also, but then they become Gyan Yogis. So typically, Dhyan Yogis are focusing on the Paramatma feature. But you're correct in that they also end up merging in the Brahman effulgence. Then there's another kind of Dhyan Yogi which is focusing on the personal feature of the Lord. That's the real yogi. That's the Bhakti Yogi. And if they achieve perfection, they go to Golok Vrindavan or Abhakuntha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, one question with this only.
Huh.
Dhyan yogi, we usually say they sit in alone places and they just focus their like the mental, all the tendency on the light only. So, and after that, when they merge in the Brahman effulgence, they get bored and they can come back. Correct? But they anyway sitting in the alone, like they anyway sitting alone, no one is there around. They anyways have that habit to sit alone. How they can get bored there?
After a very long time, like you're talking millions of years, you're not talking about 10 years. You're talking millions of years. Just imagine being sitting in a room with nothing but light. Nobody to talk to, nobody to do anything. After a while, and those who can take it, then they stay. Nobody's being forced to come down, but those who get just totally bored of it, they come down.
So original nature, like we are saying, we are also Satchit Anand because we are the part and parcel of Krishna. So their original natures are also in them, but that is kind of hidden. But after years and years, it can come back and they can get bored, right?
So I should also point out that there is Anand there also. It's called Brahmanand. But it's insignificant compared to the bliss received from the performance of pure devotional service. We're actually interacting with the Lord. So there's some Anand there. It's not there, but it's Anand of being alone. Right? Some people enjoy being alone, right? Like you were saying before. And that's fine. Everyone to their own. But it's just not the same thing. Okay?
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hare Krishna, Nana.
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Dhanvat Pranam.
Yeah.
I was laughing before because I was copying Mataji and I was like, Hare Krishna Pitashri. And then I'm like, I don't say that. I was copying her because she was saying that. Okay. Guruji, so basically we're learning that some people return back. People who goes to Vaikuntha and Golok Vrindavan return back as well.
No. So there's a difference. In the Vaikuntha and Golok Vrindavan, they are requested to come back for a short period of time. So, for example, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they were all Manjaris. They came down, right? Madhavendra Puri is a tree, actually. His constitutional form is tree. He's requested to come down. So, Prabhupada was requested to come down. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all these people, they were requested to come for a special purpose, and then they go back.
Okay.
So
they come back with a return ticket.
With a return ticket.
Okay.
We are... Right, that's right. So we were forced to come. Sorry, we are forced to stay here, right, in the material world, unless we become pure devotee. In the spiritual world, nobody is forced to come to material world. But sometimes requests made by Krishna say, hey, we need you for a certain purpose. Go, do your thing, come back.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Mohit, Hare Krishna, how are you?
I'm doing good, Prabhu. Prabhu, I have a question now on the same context. So, Prabhu, what was our original state, where we were originally?
Prabhu, don't go there. Don't go there because there's no answer to that. Whatever answer you get, you can dispute that correctly. So Prabhupada said, don't even worry about it. Just worry about how you're going to go back.
Yes, bro. It's just like because of the continuation on then where were we originally then?
That's what I'm saying. There's different answers we can give you,
Yeah.
but there are holes in every answer. So Prabhupada said, don't even worry about it. Just worry about how you're going to go back.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, let's do the next paragraph. Who would like to do that?
Shall I read
I
it?
can do it, Prabhu.
Yeah, anybody can do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Devotees of the personality from here, Prabhu?
Yes.
Yeah. Devotees of the personality of Godhead know that Sri Krishna, the son of the king of Raja, is the absolute truth. They do not discriminate between Sri Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. One who wants to separate the Lord's absolute name, form, and qualities from the Lord himself must be understood to be lacking in absolute knowledge. A pure devotee knows that when he chants the transcendental name Krishna, Sri Krishna is present as transcendental sound. He therefore chants with full respect and veneration. When he sees the form of Sri Krishna, he doesn't see anything different from the Lord. If one sees otherwise, he must be considered untrained in absolute knowledge. This lack of absolute knowledge is called Maya. One who is not Krishna conscious is ruled by the spell of Maya under the control of duality in knowledge. In the absolute, all manifestations of the Supreme Lord are non-dual, just as the multifarious forms of Vishnu. The controller of Maya are non-dual. The empiric philosopher who pursue the personal Brahman as accepts as the only the knowledge that the personality of the living entity is not different from the personality of the Supreme Lord. And mystic yogis who try to locate Paramatma accept only the knowledge that the pure soul is not different from the supersoul. The absolute conception of pure devotee, however, includes all others. A devotee does not see anything. Prabhu, can you please scroll up?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Devotee does not see anything except in its relationship with Krishna, and therefore his realization is the most perfect of all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Prabhu.
This is also a very, very important purport. And the many very important points are being made. And here the word non-dual is being described and defined. So duality means there's some difference, right? Which means two different things exist. So in the material world, that's very common. So for example, there are three types of differences we can talk about. One is within the same species. So for example, we are human species, but my name is Rupanuga and your name is Madhu Mataji and Marvaha Prabhu and so on and so forth, different names, and they're different people. So there's a difference, but say we're all humans. Whereas another kind of difference is interspecies. So a man is different from a dog. A man is different from a cow or a buffalo or a crocodile, whatever. There's a difference. That's its interspecies difference. And then there's the difference between the soul and the body. Right? So just in our own relationship, we can talk about three different kinds of differences. That's duality. Okay? So that kind of duality does not exist in the absolute truth. Whether we talk about Brahman effulgence, or talk about Paramatma, or Supreme Lord himself. So any expansions of the Supreme Lord have exactly the same qualities, no duality. So that's one point. Similarly, there's no duality between Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes, paraphernalia. They're all identical with him. There's no duality there either. Whereas in the material world, you cannot say sugar, sugar, sugar and expect to get your milk to become sweet. Okay? So this is because there's difference between the name and the object itself. In the spiritual world, in the absolute world, there's no difference. So this is why it's said here that a sincere devotee, when he chants, he understands that Krishna is sitting with him as he's chanting the name. Therefore, he becomes a little more serious and behaves properly in terms of what he's thinking about. Because Krishna is right here. And thinking about something other than Krishna while he's chanting is saying, Krishna, you can sit here all you want, but I'm going to ignore you because I'm busy watching my TV or my movie or whatever, my video game I'm playing. So once again, that's the point being made here, that those of us who understand the Lord's nature is non-dual, we understand that chanting of the name of the Lord is same as sitting with Krishna, associating with him. Therefore, it's very important that we understand that. But those of us who don't understand this point, they're in Maya, they're in Avidya. They don't have the correct understanding. They don't understand that all manifestations of the Lord are non-dual in nature. Okay? So the impersonalists, I should say, they only understand that the personality of the living entity is not different from the personality of the Lord. That is basically the qualitatively we are saying, but they don't talk about anything else. They think we can become one with Narayan. So therefore, we're equal in that sense. When we leave this body, we'll become Narayan, which is not correct. Similarly, the yogis who are focusing on Paramatma, they accept that the living entity, pure soul, is not different from super soul. Once again, not different only qualitatively. Otherwise, super soul is the sanctioner, the boss, whereas we are the servants. And a pure devotee who understands absolute truth completely not only understands that this non-duality in absolute truth, but also understands that nothing exists without Krishna. Nothing exists outside the jurisdiction of Krishna. And he's able to see everything in relationship with Krishna. So an example is given. So for example, a lot of times Matajis wear earrings, maybe sometimes nose rings, sometimes bangles, sometimes rings. They're all different manifestations of the same gold. They have different name, they have different shape, they have different manifestation, different people may be wearing it. It's all said and done, it's same gold. Similarly, you can see a forest, you can see a mountain, we can see an ocean, we can see a table and a chair, but they're all manifestations of the 8 sub-energies, I should say, of the material energy. So, Bhumi Rapo Anilo Vayu Khamana Buddhirevcha Ahankarityame Bhinna Prakriti Ashtadha. As chapter 7, text 4, is saying earth, water, air, fire, ether, a mind, intelligence, and the false ego. They are my 8 separated energies. But everything we see in the material world is constituted of those 8 things, which is the energy of Krishna, which means it's all from Krishna. Therefore, a pure devotee doesn't see anything outside of Krishna. Everything he sees in relationship with Krishna. So there's a very wonderful verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It says, the definition of pure devotee says that Sthawar Jangam na dekhe, dekhe tar murti, sarvatva hoye tare, Ishtadev spurti. Saying a pure devotee doesn't see moving or non-moving entity different from Krishna, because whatever he sees reminds him of Krishna, that this is related to Krishna because it's the manifestation of the energy of Krishna. Any questions or comments? Okay, we'll move to the next one then. Okay, 212. Tahar Angera Shuddha Kiran Mandal Upanishad Kahe Tare Brahma Sunirmal. So what the Upanishads call the transcendental impersonal Brahman is the realm of the glowing effulgence of the same Supreme Person. So there's a very large, long verse. I won't bother with that. Basically saying 3 mantras from Mundak Upanishad give information regarding the bodily effulgence of Supreme Personality of Godhead, about the Brahman effulgence. So you can read the paragraph below the verses if you want, in the spiritual realm. Somebody wants to read that?
Shall I read it, Prabhuji?
Please go ahead.
In the spiritual realm, beyond the material covering, is the unlimited Brahman effulgence, which is free from material contamination. That effulgent white light is understood by transcendentalists to be the light of all lights. In that realm, there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, fire, or electricity for illumination. Indeed, whatever illumination appears in the material world is only a reflection of that supreme illumination. That Brahman is in front and in back, in the north, south, east, and west, and also overhead and below. In other words, that Supreme Brahman effulgence spreads throughout both the material and spiritual skies.
Correct. Thank you, Prabhu. So again, the point is being repeated. The Brahman effulgence is what everything, material and spiritual, rests, and all the light of the the sun's light, moon's light, they're all reflection of the light of the Brahman effulgence, which is the light of the body of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay, we'll go to the next one then. Oops, sorry, what happened here? What happened? I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. Okay, hold on, please. Okay. All right, let's try again. Okay. There you go. You see it?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Okay,
Prabhuji.
okay, thank you. चर्म चक्ष देखे जैसे सूर्य ने विशेष ज्ञान मार्ग लेते नारे कृष्णेर विशेष. Translation: as with the naked eye one cannot know the sun except as a glowing substance, merely by philosophical speculation one cannot understand but Krishna's transcendental varieties. So as we know from experience, if you look at the sun, our eyes are so bewildered because of the glow of the sun, we can't see anything. Similarly, if we try to do mental speculation, we cannot understand all the variegatedness in Lord Krishna. Okay, next verse 214. This is a quotation from Brahma Samhita. Anybody who knows how to chant the verses from Brahma Samhita with a meter? Nobody? Okay, then you have to tolerate me because I don't know the meter, but I will do it.
I only know the last verse.
I know everybody knows the last one. Everybody. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandatram. I can try.
Oh, please do. Yeah, go ahead. Hello.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Sure.
Yasya prabha prabhavato jagat ananta koti kotishvashesha vasudhadi vibhuti bhinnam tadda brahma nishkalam anantam ashesha bhutam govindamadi purusham tam aham bhajam.
That's great, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
It's okay. Translation. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, is endowed with great power. The glowing effulgence of his transcendental form is the impersonal Brahman, which is absolute, complete, and unlimited, and which displays the varieties of countless planets with their different opulences in millions and millions of universes. So, once again, we're saying it's the Brahman effulgence that is absolute, complete, and unlimited, and produces these countless universes, planets, and all that. So, purport. Who wants to read that? Yogeshwar Prabhu, you want to finish that?
Sure, Prabhuji. I can read that.
Sure.
This verse appears in the Brahm Samhita 5.40. Each and every one of the countless universes is full of innumerable planets with different constitutions and atmospheres. All these come from the unlimited non-dual Brahman or complete whole, which exists in absolute knowledge. The origin of that unlimited Brahman effulgence is the transcendental body of Govinda, who is offered respectful obeisances as the original and supreme personality of Godhead.
Right. Thank you. So basically, same thing. The Brahman effulgence is nothing but the bodily rays of the Lord, and therefore Lord is the origin of that unlimited Brahman effulgence, on which everything is resting, and from which all types of illumination is coming. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, let's move on to the next one then. 215. Koti koti brahmande je brahmere vibhuti sei brahma govindere hoy angakanti. Lord Brahma said, the opulences of the impersonal Brahman is spread throughout the millions and millions of universes. That Brahman is but the bodily effulgence of Govinda. So yeah, same thing. We've been saying that for a while now. 216. Say Govinda bhajiyame tehum mor pati tahar prasade mor hoy srishti shakti. So remember, this is Lord Brahma talking. He's saying, I worship Govinda. He's my Lord. Only by his grace am I empowered to create the universe. So somebody wants to read the purport?
I will read, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead, Radhavanapu.
Okay. Although the sun is situated far away from the other planets, its rays sustain and maintain them all. Indeed, the sun diffuses its heat and light all over the universe. Similarly, the Supreme Sun, Govinda, diffuses his heat and light everywhere in the form of his different potencies. The sun's heat and light are non-different from the sun. In the same way, the unlimited potency of Govinda are non-different from Govinda himself. Therefore, the all-pervasive Brahman is the all-pervasive Govinda. The Bhagavad Gita 14.27 clearly mentions that the impersonal Brahman is dependent upon Govinda. That is the real conception of absolute knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, so it's referring to 1427, Bhagavad Gita, which says, Brahmano hi pratishtaham amrita savyascha shaswata sadharma se sukha sakantikascha. So saying, Brahmano pratishtaham, like the Brahman effulgence depends upon me. I'm the supporter or sustainer of the Brahman effulgence, which means the rays of the body of the Lord is Brahman effulgence, on which everything is resting. And the example is given of sun, which sustains and maintains one universe. Brahman effulgence maintaining all the millions and trillions of universes. So therefore, it's all pervasive, and because the bodily rays is all pervasive. Therefore, Krishna or Govinda is all pervasive. And that's the real absolute knowledge. Okay. Any questions or comments on that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, can you explain this line where it says in 14.27, where it says the impersonal Brahman is dependent upon Govinda, but like, why does it say dependent word over here?
Well, basically, no Krishna, no rays. So the rays are dependent upon existence of Krishna. Without him, they cannot exist. Does that make sense?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Because it is a part of it, so why does it say dependent on it?
But that's
It's not
exactly right.
dependent though.
Because it is part, therefore it is dependent. It's like a leaf on a tree is dependent upon the existence of the tree.
Yes, Prabhuji. So when we say it's a part of a tree, so the rays are part of Govinda, right?
The rays are coming from the body of the Lord. Yes, correct.
Yeah, right. So how it becomes dependent on Govinda? That's the word I'm just.
Yeah, so maybe the word is confusing you. Basically, it means it is depending upon the existence of Govinda. If there's no Govinda, no rays.
Oh, in that sense.
There's no other source for Govinda, the Brahman effulgence. There's no other source. That's the only one source.
Understand, bro. I understand the point now. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Sure, no problem. Hare Krishna. Okay. Let's go to the next one. This is a very interesting verse. Munayo vat vasana shramana urdham manthinaha brahmakhyam dhamate yanti shanta sannyasino mala. It's a good thing. It's giving me practice to read my Bengali. Okay, translation. Naked saints and sannyasis who undergo severe physical penances, who can raise the semen to their brain and who are completely equipoised in Brahman, can live in the realm known as Brahmaloka. Okay, so now, let's read the purport. That'll make it more clear. Who would like to do that? Mohit, I see you there in the screen, so maybe you want to read it?
Someone probably I will read it.
Sure.
No, he's reading it. Mohit is doing it.
Oh, in this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.6.47, Vata Varsaha refers to mendicants who do not care about anything material, including clothing, but who depends wholly on nature. Such sages do not cover their bodies even in severe winters or scorching sunshine. They take great pains not to avoid any kind of bodily suffering, and they like by begging from door to door. They never discharge their semen either knowingly or unknowingly. By such celibacy, they can able to raise their semen to the brain. Thus, they become most intelligent and develop very sharp memories. The mind are never disturbed or diverted from contemplation on the absolute truth, nor are they ever contaminated by desire for material enjoyment. By practicing austerities under strict disciplines, such mendicants attain a neutral state transcendental to the modes of nature and merge into the impersonal Brahman.
Yeah. So actually, I don't know if I don't think I mentioned it. So we start observing Kartik from the Ekadashi before Kartik. So we've been already observing Kartik, and in the month of Kartik we read chapter 12 every day. So I've been reading this, and this purport reminds me of one of the verses there. Krishna says, 12.5. Klesho adhikarasta tesham avyakt asakta chetsa avyakta hi gatir dukkham avyakta vad bahir atsa. So basically saying, Krishna is saying, the performance of those who focus on my impersonal feature is very difficult. The life is very difficult, it's very troublesome to get. And that's what's being said here. How much troublesome it is for those people who are trying to focus on Brahman effulgence. But even when they succeed after all these austerities, the best they can do is merge in the Brahman effulgence, which is not the whole thing. So again, the point throughout is being made is that, ultimately you need to become a devotee of the Lord, the personal feature of the Lord. Okay? Any questions on that?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, are these referred to those Naga sadhus?
Well, yes and no. The reason I say that is that all the characteristics that have been defined are of those Naga sadhus, but Naga sadhus that we know are more to ganja and all sorts of self-gratification. So therefore, no.
I understand, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, then we go to the next one. Atma antaryami jare yog shastre koye seh govindir ansha vibhuti je hoye. Translation. He who is described in the Yoga Shastras as the indwelling super soul, Atma Antaryami, is also a plenary portion of Govinda's personal expansion. So who knows the meaning of the word plenary? Anybody?
Swansh?
Well, it is Swansh, but it's not the meaning of the word plenary.
Related to all the planets?
No, nothing to do with planets.
Something which has the full potency like the original.
Yes. So same potency as the original. So Paramatma is a plenary portion of Lord Govinda. Okay. So that's, in other words, it's a feature of the Lord, therefore it's non-different. Okay. Also, just going aside a little bit, Paramatma also comes in two features. One is localized Paramatma, and one is all pervasive Paramatma. Does anybody know the difference, the form of these two Paramatmas? What does local Paramatma look like, and what is all pervasive Paramatma look like?
Local Paramatma is like the Narayan form, four-handed.
Yes, very good. Yes, correct.
And the other is the light.
Correct. It's like energy. So all pervading energy.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Very good, Mataji. Thank you. Okay. So let's read the purport. Who wants to read the purport?
I can read the Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is by nature joyful. His enjoyment or pastimes are completely transcendental. He is in the fourth dimension of existence, for although the material world is measured by the limitation of length, breadth, and height, and the Supreme Lord is completely unlimited in his body, form, and existence. He is not personally attached to any of the affairs within the material cosmos. The material world is created by the expansion of his Purush avatar, who directs the aggregate material energy and all the conditioned souls. By understanding the three expansions of the Purusha, a living entity can transcend the position of knowing only the 24 elements of the material world. Next. One of the...
No, let's stop here.
Stop.
Yeah. So basically, if the point is being made here is that the Lord is completely transcendental, and so are his pastimes, the qualities, etc., etc. Everything about the Lord is transcendental. So therefore, he's not limited by three dimensions of length, breadth, and width. This is what anything physical, anything gross we see, we talk about length, breadth, and height. Okay, the Lord is totally above that because he's completely unlimited in his body, in his form, and his existence. There's no limit. We don't know where he starts, where he ends. Okay, and again, the point is being made one more time that he's not personally involved in any of the affairs of the material cosmos. Okay, the material world is created by an expansion of the Lord, which is the Purusha avatar, as we talked about earlier. Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and Kshirodaksha Vishnu. Okay, and so once a person who understands that, he can transcend the material knowledge of the 24 elements. 24 elements are the 5 knowledge gathering senses, 5 working senses,
Yes.
5 sense objects. That's 50.
Mind.
So
Mind.
Yeah.
Mind, intelligence, ego.
That's 18.
And 5 objects of senses.
No, वो तो हो गया. 5 sense objects तो हो गया.
5 gross.
Yes, gross elements.
Gross elements.
23. Yeah. And then 24th is the Mahat Tattva, the aggregate. Okay, so the 24 elements of material nature. Your knowledge.
Prabhu, what is the 24th one?
Mahat Tattva, the aggregate of material nature.
What is that?
So this is the beginning of the material world. When the creation starts, everything is in one place, concentrated. That's called Mahat Tattva, which acts like a cloud to cover the Brahman effulgence, and so it becomes dark, and that's the material world. Okay? So when material is finished, everything merges in the Mahat Tattva.
So actually Brahman effulgence?
No, nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. Okay, so don't worry about it because it's totally out of topic right now. Just know Mahat Tattva, the aggregate of all things material. Modes of material nature and everything, they're in there. Okay, next paragraph, please. One of the expansions of Mahavishnu is Kshirodaksha Vishnu. The super.
Yes. Prabhuji.
Huh?
Should I continue?
Oh, if you want, yeah, nobody else volunteering, so go ahead.
I can read Prabhuji if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the expansions of Mahavishnu is Kshirodaksha Vishnu, the super soul within every living entity. As the super soul of the total aggregate of living entities, or the second Purusha, he is known as Garbhodaksha Vishnu, as the creator or original cause of innumerable universes, or the first Purusha, who is lying on the causal ocean. He is called Mahavishnu. The 3 Purushas direct the affairs of the material world.
Right, thank you. So, Kshirodaksha Vishnu expands as the super soul within every living entity. Garbhodaksha Vishnu is the super soul of the aggregate of all living entities in one universe. And Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Mahavishnu, is the aggregate, is the super soul aggregate of all the material world, all the universes. And the 3 of them are creating and maintaining the material world. Okay. Next paragraph, please.
I will read, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
The authorized scriptures direct the individual soul to receive their relationship with the super soul. Indeed, the system of yoga is the process of transcending the influence of the material elements by establishing a connection with the Purusha known as Paramatma. One who has thoroughly studied the intricacies of creation can know very easily that this Paramatma is the plenary portion of the Supreme Being, Krishna. Hare
Krishna. Thank you. So, okay, we discussed this before, and basically the point is that the yogis, the Dhyan yogis that Keshav Sevaka was talking about before, are connecting with the Paramatma feature of the Lord, which is a plenary portion or expansion of Lord Krishna. Okay. And it's further explained in the next verse. So let's go there. Okay. Very nice example. अनंत स्फटिके जैचे एक सूर्य भासे तैचे जीवे गोविंदेर अंश प्रकाशे. As the one sun appears reflected in countless jewels, so Govinda manifests himself as Paramatma in the hearts of all living beings. So try to explain how does it happen? How does the Lord expand to Paramatma feature? Okay, somebody wants to read this paragraph?
So I can read it.
Please go ahead.
The sun is situated in a specific location but is reflected in countless jewels and appears in innumerable localized aspects. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although eternally present in his transcendental abode, Goloka Vrindavan, is reflected in everyone's hearts as the Supersoul. In the Upanishad, it is said that Jiva, living entity, and the Paramatma, Supersoul, are like two birds sitting in the same tree. The Supersoul engages the living being in executing fruitive work as the result of his deeds in the past, but the Paramatma has nothing to do with such engagements. As soon as the living being ceases to act in terms of fruitive work and takes to the service of the Lord, the Paramatma, coming to know his supremacy, he is immediately freed from all designations, and in that the pure state he enters the kingdom of Godhead known as Vaikuntha.
Yeah, thank you. So it's referring to Kathopanishad, which mentions that the living entity, the Jivatma and Paramatma, are living together like two birds on a tree, where one bird is eating the fruits of the tree, the other is simply witnessing and sanctioning. Sanctioning involves giving permission in terms of the past activities of that living entity. So example is given is according to our karma, we are given certain abilities. And that's the sanctioning process. So for example, if I or anybody else on this call wanted to fly on our own, we can't do that. But a bird can very easily, no problem. Because bird has been given that ability, and that's a sanctioning of the Paramatma. So, and then whatever we are doing is being witnessed, but the Paramatma is not involved in the activity. Therefore, you cannot say, well, Paramatma made me do this, and therefore I'm not to be blamed, and I don't get karma. That's not true. We are to be blamed for anything we do, and we'll suffer the consequences of anything we do, good or bad. And Paramatma is not there. It's just simply witnessing and sanctioning based upon your past karma. Okay? So one who understands this, he can get to the pure state and enter the kingdom of God known as Vaikuntha. Anything else? Anybody? Comments, questions? Okay. Next paragraph, please.
I can read, Prabhu.
Please go ahead.
The Paramatma or Super Soul, the guide of the individual living beings, does not take part in fulfilling the desires of the living beings, but he arranges for their fulfillment by material nature. As soon as an individual soul becomes conscious of his eternal relationship with the Super Soul and looks only towards him, he at once becomes free from the entanglements of the material enjoyment. Christian philosophers who do not believe in the law of karma put forward the argument that it is absurd to say one must accept the results of past deeds, of which he has no consciousness. A criminal is first reminded of his misdeeds by the witnesses in the law court, and then he is punished. If death is complete forgetfulness, why should a person be punished for his past misdeeds? The conception of the Paramatma is an invincible answer to these fallacious arguments. The Paramatma is the witness of the past activities of the individual living being. A man may not remember what he has done in his childhood, but his father, who has seen him grow through different stages of development, certainly remembers. Similarly, the living being undergoes many changes of body through many lives, but the super soul is always with him and remembers all his activities, despite his evolution through different bodies. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. This is reminding me of another verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 5. Krishna says, Bahuni me vatitani janmani tavcha Arjuna, tanham ve sarvani natam veta parantapa. He's telling Arjun that you and I both have taken many, many births, but I remember them all, but you don't remember them. So, same thing here. The living entity forgets the past life as soon as it takes birth in another body. And but that cannot be used as an excuse to say, oh, therefore you're not to be punished. Because the soul is eternal, the body may have changed, but the soul is still there. The consciousness is still there, the subtle body is still there. And therefore the punishment is given to the living entity, if you want to call that, based upon the activities from the past life. And it's no excuse to say that, oh, but he doesn't remember. It doesn't matter. Okay? Because Paramatma remembers it.
Prabhu, I've got one question here.
Okay.
Okay, you said the living entity forgets their past life, but I thought when we are born, we know 100 lives when we are born, but we tend to forget it later. So what is the right thing there?
Well, I don't know. Like, even if you do remember, by the time you are out of the womb, it's gone.
Okay.
So same thing as not remembering.
Yes, I think it's in the womb we remember the 100 past lives. So when we come in the material world, we forget.
As soon as mommy says, "Allah mera beta aa gaya," that's it.
Yeah.
Done. Sab bhul gaye. Right? Okay. Let's do the next one then. Oh, okay. Another verse from Bhagavad Gita. Athva bahune tena kim gyatena tavarjuna vishtab aham idam krishnam ekanshen sthito jagat. So this is from 10th chapter. The personality of Godhead said, Shri Krishna said, what more shall I say to you? I lived throughout this cosmic manifestation merely by my single plenary portion. Okay, so once again, Krishna's talking about my single plenary portion, Paramatma feature. So I'm here and I'm controlling everything with that. Okay. Okay, 21. Tam imam aham ajam sharir bhajam hridi dishtitam atma kalpitanam priti drishyam iv naikadharakam ekam samadhigato asmi vidhuta bhed moha. Now this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhishma Pitama speaking, as Lord as he getting ready to leave his body, and Lord Krishna is there. So Bhishma Pitama is saying, as the one sun appears differently situated to different seers, so also do you, the unborn, appear differently represented as the Paramatma in every living being. But when a seer knows himself to be one of your own servitors, no longer does he maintain such duality. Thus, I am now able to comprehend your eternal forms, knowing well the Paramatma to be only your plenary portion. Right? So, even though Krishna is being represented as Paramatma in every living being, it's not different. It's same plenary portion. The Paramatma 1 is not different from Paramatma 2, from Paramatma 3, and Paramatma 4. They're all the same plenary portion or expression of Lord Krishna. Okay? Purport. Who wants to read the first one, paragraph?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1942 was spoken by Bhishma Dev, the grandfather of Krus. when he was lying on the bed of arrows at the last stage of his life. Arjun, Krishna, and numberless friends, admirers, relatives, and sages had gathered on the scene. As Maharaj Yudhishthir took moral and religious instruction from the dying Bhishma. Just as the final moment arrived for him, Bhishma spoke this verse while looking at Lord Krishna.
Right. Okay. Go ahead.
Just as the one sun is the object of vision of many different persons, so the one partial representation of Lord Krishna, who lies in the heart of every living entity as the Paramatma, is a variously perceived object. One who comes intimately in touch with Lord Krishna by engaging in his eternal service sees the super soul as the localized partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhishma knew the super soul to be a partial expression of the Lord Krishna, whom he understood to be the supreme, unborn, transcendental form.
Yes, thank you. So this is very obvious. Basically, we've been saying that Paramatma may look different to different people because of their lack of knowledge, but there's only one Paramatma, and that's the plenary expansion of Lord Krishna, and it's one of the three features of the absolute truth. Okay, any questions or comments on that? Okay, then we go to the next one. सही तो गोविंद साक्षात चैतन्य गोसाई जीव निस्तारिते अच्छे दयालु और नाई. That Govinda personally appears as Chaitanya Gosai. No other Lord is as merciful in delivering the fallen souls. So now, coming back to Lord Chaitanya, which is this book about, and saying it's non-different from Lord Krishna. So let's read the purport, and this is the last verse we do today. Okay, first paragraph, who wants to read?
I can read it.
Go ahead, Nana.
Having described, is it okay, Prabhuji?
If you want, I mean.
Okay. Having described Govinda in terms of his Brahman and Paramatma features, now the author of Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita advances his argument to prove that Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the identical personality, the same Lord Shri Krishna in the garb of devotee of Shri Krishna, descended to this material world to reclaim the fallen human beings who have misunderstood the personality of Godhead even after the explanation of the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, directly instructs that the Supreme is a person, that the impersonal Brahman is his glowing effulgence, and that the Paramatma is his partial representation. All men were therefore advised to follow the path of Shri Krishna, leaving aside all mundanism, offenders, misunderstanding this instruction, however, because of this poor fund of knowledge. Thus, by his causeless, unlimited mercy, Shri Krishna came again as Shri Chaitanya Gosai.
Yeah. So basically, Lord Krishna felt that his instructions in Bhagavad Gita were misunderstood or not followed. And despite some very clear instructions, very clear descriptions that followed, so he said, okay, I have to come back as Lord Chaitanya to teach them again. Now, this is a very minor reason, so we'll get into other reasons later, but here, that's what they're talking about. Okay. Nana, you want to do the next paragraph?
Sure, Prabhuji. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita most emphatically stresses that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna himself. He is not an expansion of the Prakash or Vilasa form of Sri Krishna. He is Swayam Rupa Govinda, Apart from the relevant scriptural evidence forwarded by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, there are innumerable other scripture statements regarding Lord Chaitanya being the Supreme Lord himself. By following example may be cited. From the Chaitanya Upanishad, Guru Swaratmas Mahapurusho Mahatma Mahayogi Tri Gunita Sattva Rupa Bhaktim Loka Kashyati. Lord Gaura, who is all-pervading super soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears as a great saint and powerful mystic who is above the three modes of nature and is the emblem of transcendental activities. He disseminates the cult of devotion throughout the world.
Right, thank you. So the point in these two paragraphs and the next few paragraphs being made is the evidence that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, not an expansion of Krishna, but Krishna himself, Swayam Rupa. So like Lord Ram is an expansion, Lord Vishnu is an expansion. Lord Chaitanya is not an expansion. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. Later we'll talk about what mode and so on and so forth, but the point here is being made that he is Krishna himself. And the next eight paragraphs basically give the scriptural proof that Lord Chaitanya is Lord Krishna himself. And the first one is coming from Chaitanya Upanishad, which talks about that just like Krishna is, Lord Chaitanya is also the all-pervading super soul who has decided to appear as a great saint and a powerful mystic. But just like Krishna, he's above the modes of material nature, and everything about him is transcendental, means above the material world, and is here to disseminate the cult of devotion throughout the world. So he's here to make everybody a devotee. Okay. The next one gives proof from Shvetashvatara Upanishad. And again, we won't bother with the verse, but we'll read the translation. Somebody wants to read the translation? Oh, Supreme. Go ahead, please.
Prabhuji, can you scroll down? Sorry. Prabhuji, can you scroll down a little bit?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead. So, if somebody start to read.
I can do.
Okay, go ahead.
O Supreme Lord, you are the Supreme Maheshwar, the worshipable deity of all the demigods and the Supreme Lord of all lords. You are the controller of all controllers and personality of God, the personality of Godhead, the Lord of everything worshipable. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Mahaprabhu, who disseminates their transcendental enlightenment. Just to be in touch with him is to be in contact with the indestructible Mahabrahm Jyoti.
Right. So again, it's being described as the Lord Krishna himself. And because the Brahma Jyoti is the bodily rays of the Lord, Brahma Jyoti is also the bodily rays of Lord Chaitanya. And therefore, if you're in touch with Lord Chaitanya, then you're in touch with the Brahma Jyoti. Okay, next paragraph, just the translation.
Should I?
Go ahead, yeah, continue.
From Mundaka Upanishad, one who sees the golden colored personality of Godhead, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Actor, who is the source of all of the Supreme Brahman, is liberated.
Right. So once again, somebody who understands Krishna, Lord Chaitanya is non-different Krishna, is liberated. Okay, number 4.
I will read, Prabhuji.
Go ahead, Prabhu, go ahead.
We offer our respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of him, the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. He destroys insults to his devotees, He removes the distresses of his devotees and satisfies his desires. He is the abode of all holy places and the shelter of all sages. He is worshipable by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. He is the boat of the demigods for crossing the ocean of birth and death. Thank you.
Thank you. So once again, the qualities of Krishna being described and attributed to Lord Chaitanya himself. Okay.
Can I continue?
Please go ahead.
Okay. We offer our respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. He left his household life, leaving aside his eternal consort, whom even the denizens of heaven adore. He went into the forest to deliver the fallen souls who are put into illusion by material energy.
Yeah, so that's the difference between Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya, well, you can argue that's not a difference, but anyway, difference in that in a visible way, he took sannyas and walked away from his whole family, including his very young wife. And he did all this to simply deliver the fallen souls. Okay. Prahlad said,
I'll continue, Prabhuji.
Go ahead.
The fourth one. My Lord, you kill all the enemies of the world in your multifarious incarnations in the families of men, animals, demigod, Rishi, aquatics, and so on. Thus, you illuminate the world with transcendental knowledge. In the age of Kali, O Mahapurusha, you sometimes appear in a covered incarnation. Therefore, you are known as Triyuga, one who appears in only 3 yugas.
Right. So this is not referring to the prayer by Prahlad Maharaj, where he calls Lord Nrsimhadev 3 yuga, which is that you appear only in 3 yugas, which is a little bit contradictory, but the explanation is given that in Kali Yuga, he's called Chanya avatar or covered incarnation. Lord Chaitanya did not declare himself to be God to general public. And so he acted as a devotee, and therefore the 3 yugas refers as opposed to 4 yugas. Other point is being made that Krishna can appear in any form, in a human form, in an animal form, demigod form, rishi form, aquatic form, and so on and so forth. But Kali Yuga is appearing as a devotee. Okay. Number 5.
Can I read, Prabhu?
Go ahead.
From the Krishna Yamala Tantra, Punyakshetre Navadvipe Bhavishyami Sachi Sutaha. I shall appear in the holy land of Navadvip as the son of Sachi Devi.
So is Krishna declaring it himself?
Should I continue?
Yeah, please do. Go ahead.
From the Vayu Purana, Kalau Sankirtanarambhe Bhavishyami Sachi Suta. In the age of Kali, when the Sankirtan movement is inaugurated, I shall descend as the son of Sachi Devi.
Go ahead.
From the Brahma Yamala Tantra. Should I read the verse?
No, just the translation.
Sometimes I personally appear on the surface of the world in the garb of a devotee. Specifically, I appear as the son of Sachi in Kali Yuga to start the Sankirtan movement.
Yeah. And last one.
From the Ananta Samhita, the Supreme Person Sri Krishna himself, who is the life of Sri Radharani and is the Lord of the universe in creation, maintenance, and inhalation, appears as Gaura, O Maheshwari. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So once again, all these verses are simply trying to proving, I should say, that Lord Krishna is the one who appeared in his devotee manifestation as Lord Chaitanya. So we're going to stop here. And Usha, you had your hand raised. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, it says Yamla Tantra. Brahma Yamla Tantra.
Yeah.
Not mantra.
No, Tantra. Tantra is like a book of the tantras is mantras. Okay. So mantra is the one that delivers your mind, and tantra is that delivers you yourself, I guess. But they're different. There's some subtle difference between tantra and mantra.
Yes.
I can't tell you more than that. I don't know exactly, but they're different. But Tantra is
Yeah, I thought
not a
so.
misprint. It's not a misprint.
Yeah, I thought so. Tantra is has a different functionality also than the mantra.
Could be. Yeah. I don't know a lot about that, but I know they're different.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Prabhuji, you heard a song called Every Step You Take, Every Breath You, Every Move You Make. I'm watching you. Every time I heard about Paramatma feature, I feel like that song's replays in
That's
my
very
mind.
good. That's very good because he is watching every move we make.
Yeah.
Witnessing everything. And you can't hide
It
from him.
is nice, but at the same time, it's like, the CCTV camera is on all time.
Well, that's true. But you remind me of a story, not story, something that happened to me. There was some confusion with my car registration once, and a police officer showed up. So I gave him all the papers and all that. Everything was fine. And then I said, as he was leaving, it's kind of scary that you show up at my door. And I'll never forget his answer. He said, if you haven't done anything wrong, there's nothing to worry about. And I said, that's so true. The same thing, camera is on or not. If I'm not doing anything wrong, nothing to worry about. You can have something to hide that there's something to worry about. Right?
But it's a good thing too, Prabhuji. It's like, if you in the darkest of the darkest place on this earth, he'll be with you.
That's it. Still watching you.
Yeah, he's there. You cannot be without him.
But you could also look at it very positively that he's there to support you. Even if you're in a hog's body, even what's the skunk's body, things like that. It's still there.
True.
He's not leaving you. So he is your friend eternally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, just a quick question before we end up the session.
Sure.
Is this the correct?
Just so you know.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it correct that I've heard that if you miss this particular birth, this human birth, then again you have to go through the entire cycle of 840,000 species?
No, I never heard that.
No?
I've never
So you
heard
have to do the entire evolution again?
No, I've never heard that. But what would you say missed this? I don't know what do you mean by missed this.
Missed means if you didn't do your bhakti properly and you couldn't crack it to Golok Vrindavan.
No, that is definitely not true. For example, there are people who perform very pious activities to become elevated to the heavenly kingdoms. So they become devta or they come back as a rich person. So no, you don't have to. You could, but you don't have to. There's no rule that says you must do that if you don't do bhakti. There's no such rule. But you could. It could happen. Okay? And if it happens, then you're in trouble. 8.4 million different species. Some species last only 10 seconds, some species last 10,000 years. Take the average to be 1 year. 8.4 million species means it will be 8.4 million years before you come back as a human being. If you went through each of those cycles. 8.4 million years means 2 Dwapara Yuga, 2 Treta Yuga, 2 Satya Yuga, 2 Kali Yuga before you come back as a human being. That's a very long time. So you don't want to take a chance. However, it doesn't say you will have to do that. You may have to do that.
Oh, so you mean this Kali Yuga will end and again Satya Yuga, Dwapar, then we come in.
You're still non-human. कुछ सांप छछूदर बन के बैठे हुए हैं. It could happen, but again, it's nowhere says you will. It will happen. It could happen.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay. Also, it's not sequential. There's no sequence that says this. Only sequence I see is sometimes it said that a cow gets next birth in human form. That's the only thing I've heard. But I don't even know if that's guaranteed.
I've also heard that the flowers that you offer to Shri Krishna, that particular tree attains the human birth in the next life.
Could be. Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. So again, there's no sequence there. Any flower has to become cow first and then cow becomes human. Nothing like that. The law of karma doesn't work that way. It's not sequential process.
Very tough.
Very tough. Very hard to understand too. It's very complicated. Very.
We may be human being also in last birth.
Could be. It's possible.
Could be.
Yeah. We don't know, but
We
it's possible.
stopped and we started where we stopped from.
That's also possible. Not necessarily so, but it's possible.
Yeah.
But again, it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare
Krishna.
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Thank you.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Jai Hare Krishna.